In the 1950s, half of all Americans were married homeowners. Today, that number has dropped all the way to 12%. What happened to the American dream and why does nobody want to talk about it? Let's jump in today and see what exactly happened across the board that caused the drop to happen so quickly. So this chart is a viral chart that has come out, which is the estimation of both married and homeowners from 1950 to 2025. And here you can see that massive drop over time. And at one point in time, the American dream was tightly linked to marriage, homeownership, and family, and doing all of this at a very young age. And the American dream has completely changed. I would love to hear from you. What do you think? Post below, comment below why you think that this has changed so much in the last few decades here. This chart is going viral on social media and it's a big deal. I'm going to give you my take in today's video. So here's the thing. The odds of being married at least once by age. This is a great chart from Business Insider. Shows, 1962, about 90% of people were married before age 30, 1980 a little bit lower, 2000 a little bit lower, 2014 a little bit lower, and it's even lower today. So about 55% of people today get married before age 30, and it used to be 90% of people. And so this is a massive change. People are pushing off the age that they're getting married. We'll get into that. Now, also from a different look, today only 33% of 30-year-olds own a home. And that's come down a lot. It was in the 1980s, it was approximately 50% of 30-year-olds owned a home. So the reality is that the median age that people are buying homes is going up. Here's a chart that's really powerful and tells the story of this. Median age of home buyers since 1981, the median first-time home buyer age has increased to 38 years old as of the record last year. This is a big part of what we can see is, since the 2010 timeframe after the great financial crisis, we start to see this age continue to creep up. All buyers are about 56 years old and repeat buyers are about 61 years old, but the first-time home buyer is 38 years old. What this tells me is that these older generations are the ones who are buying and selling real estate in today's market, and primarily the boomers, which is 61 years or older, because they already have the wealth to be able to purchase. Now, here's the high-level fact check. I wanted to make sure that this chart was pretty accurate, so I just did the numbers. 33% of homeowners, 30-year-olds are homeowners, and 55% of them are married, is about 18%, so roughly 6% off from the 12% in the chart. But I mean, it does tell a really interesting story. Why are less people becoming homeowners, fewer and fewer people getting married? And then how does this impact your real estate market? And if you haven't noticed already, yes, I did a hair transplant and my head is massively swollen from the lidocaine that they put in there. So thanks for watching. Real estate does not sleep. I love getting you guys the news regardless. I'm not going to rest on my end. So thank you for subscribing and liking my channel. Now, why are there less homeowners under 30 years old? This is the affordability crisis that we have been talking about for some time on this channel. Prices have skyrocketed and wages have fallen behind. And I know people are saying, especially the boomers, the millennials need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and just work harder. The reality is, it's not that way. It's from the numbers that I've researched, about 3.2 times more expensive to purchase a home than it was even when adjusting for inflation back in the day against the boomers time frame. So it is much harder to become a homeowner, and house prices have outpaced income growth over the last 40 years. You can see that the median house price is 5.3x higher than since 1985 versus the median income, which is only 3.6x. This comes from the US Census Bureau, the US Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it's a wonderful chart to look at to explain the situation of what we're in right now, which is clearly an affordability crisis. So how can a 30-year-old purchase a house if they don't have the income to be able to do it, or they're not getting the inheritance from their parents or any help from their parents to be able to purchase? It's extremely difficult to do in today's market. Now, another reason why people are not getting married is women are prioritizing their careers versus marriage and homeownership and delaying the household formation and having kids. Which is also going to impact the real estate market demographics. And frankly, the insane cost of student loans, which has skyrocketed and really left a lot of homeowners just loaded up with debt and unable to purchase. But here you can see this comes from the Department of Education, males versus females, males in the blue, obviously. And so you can see that the rate has just fallen for higher education And you could see that it's just skyrocketed since the 1970s, where more and more women are going off and getting education. Here's 4-year institutions for male, 4-year for female, same story, and then 2-year institution for male and more for female. So females are entering the workforce, they're becoming highly educated, and they're focusing on their careers versus starting a family and getting married. And this has had a massive impact on the housing market and pushing that median age up higher. So there's social factors as well as economic factors that are in play here. Now, people are getting married later, and household formation is also delayed. So this is the median age at first marriage from 1890 to present. I don't know how they got this information, but it's all the way back in the day. But you can see the median age is just moving up every single year. And that's, again, an affordability issue and social issues that are moving through the years. And then if you think about it, after World War II, you had the GI Bill and all this other kind of stuff that pushed home ownership, and a lot of people are getting married younger and starting families younger, and that's just not the same today. And frankly, there's a shortage of supply of housing, of affordable housing. Now, there's lots of reports out there, even by Brookings, that say that we're about 5 million homes underbuilt. And you may have seen this in the news, which is crazy to me because this is very hyper local areas that are underbuilt, and then other areas are extremely overbuilt. So it's really hard to look at this chart from a nationwide perspective. Each area should be individually analyzed and figure out why it's underbuilt. But the reality is we don't have a housing shortage problem. We have an affordable housing shortage problem. Like, houses are just not affordable. People want to buy. It just doesn't make sense. The prices have just got pushed up so much, and the builders continue to build in price ranges that are completely unachievable for the majority of locals, especially here in Jacksonville, Florida. And frankly, locally here in Jacksonville, this is a report that just came out this morning. It's cheaper to rent than to buy in Jacksonville. So why would somebody in their 30s, if they're not married and they don't have kids, why would they buy when they can rent and save, maybe up to $600 a month, negotiate with the landlord, not have to deal with any repairs? It doesn't make any sense. And this is a report that came from realtor.com. So, I think this will be a trend that we'll actually continue to see, where less and less young families, young people will buy, and more will continue to rent in really convenient areas across the country. So overall, this is a crazy chart, and we're glad it went viral around social media because it starts a lot of conversations. But here's the summary. It's high cost of living, student loans, women are going to higher educations and starting their careers before settling down. Women have more economic independence, causing them to delay marriage, right? They have more options. They're educated. They're not expected, like back in the day, to just get married young, and that was like a really important thing. Many don't want to marry until they are financially stable. This is a massive factor that's gone across the United States. Many don't want to have kids until they're financially stable. This is true for my wife and I. This is exactly what we did. We said we had to hit a certain net worth goal before we started having kids because we didn't want to have this stress of having to earn every single day while watching our children and taking care of them and being a good parent. People are doing everything later. They're finishing school later. They're starting their careers later. They're buying their homes later, and they're having children later. And this is due, I believe this number one factor is because of the affordability crisis, coming off of the gold standard in the 70s and Congress just printing our money away. And they're continuing to do it at a rapid rate. I expect this to actually become even more challenging for young generations to be able to purchase real estate. And if, they can get married, but a lot of them just can get married and rent. But I don't think real estate is going to be achievable for a lot of people unless the prices come down, which my projection is that prices in Jacksonville, according to my financial models, will come down about 31 to 42% from the peak, which was October 2022. So what do you think? What am I missing here? I want to hear from you. Why is this chart so crazy? Are there other factors that I didn't talk about today that are of interest to you? Today, this is, again, my summary. High housing costs, student debt, delayed career stability, changing gender roles, right? Women in the workforce, and shifting cultural norms are all pushing marriage and homeownership into the late 20s, into the late 30s, and that is becoming more and more normal across the board. What do you see out there? Love to hear from you, and love to hear how you think that is going to impact the real estate market. See you guys soon.